So you're thinking of moving to South Florida, but not exactly sure if it would be a good fit for you and your family? Well, today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of moving to and living here in South Florida. And this is going to be an updated list for 2022 because, as we all know, things have changed drastically here in the state. So stick around and let's do this. Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to my channel. And if you're new here, my name's Rob Zeoli. I am a real estate agent right here in South Florida. I put out weekly videos and content about what it's like to move to and live here in South Florida. So if that is something you might be interested, consider subscribing to the channel and tap the notifications down below to be notified anytime I put out a new video. Now, we're getting calls all the time from people all over the country that are looking to make that move here to South Florida. So if that is you and you have any questions or looking to make a move or buy a property, reach out 24/7 and I look to make your transition here to South Florida a very, very smooth one. And without any further ado, let's dive into today's video about the pros and cons updated for 2022. Now, the first pro we have to start with is that everyone wants to move to the state of Florida. Well, not everybody, and not just grandma and grandpa. It just seems like so many people are looking to make that move here to South Florida. And according to the 2022 census, we are kind of neck and neck with Texas as the state with the most migration, so the most people moving to the state out of the entire country. Now, with housing prices increasing and rent prices just skyrocketing and going through the roof, what is it about the state of Florida that still has people wanting to move here in record numbers? Now, the typical pros of moving to anywhere in Florida has to be its warm weather, beautiful beaches, the activities, and you could enjoy them year-round with our weather. The state of Florida also has no state income tax, and home prices are relatively affordable, or at least they used to be relatively affordable, but that is changing in a major way. Florida is also a mecca for retirees, so I think there's 3.5 million baby boomers that have recently retired, and a lot of them are coming down and making Florida their home. Now, one of the significant changes recently is not only retirees, but a lot of millennials are making that move down here to Florida with remote work, so we're seeing a lot more young people move into the state as well. Now, another pro, and really has to do with the times that we're living in right now, and you can call it whatever you want, lifestyle or freedom of choice, as a lot of people are moving here from states that they feel have been restricting them. And this is all stemming from what we went through with COVID and the lockdowns and a lot of things having to do with that. So a lot of people that we've talked to that have recently made the move have done so because they've been affected in some way in certain states where they were very, very heavily regulated. Schools were shut down for an extended period of time. I know a lot of people that lost their businesses, lost their jobs, all these things, if you want to call them restrictions and kind of controlling issues that they feel went over and above what was needed to be done in order to control the pandemic, especially after a certain amount of time had passed, and we've seen that some of these things were not actually the best way to handle it. A lot of these people are moving here because the state of Florida has actually been kind of wide open since the initial shutdown, especially when it comes to schools and businesses. So a lot of people have moved here from states like New York, California, Chicago, places like that where they're still having a lot of restrictions having to do with COVID, and anything having to do with that. A lot of people are moving here just for that reason. Now, another pro for businesses is that it's a much more friendly business climate here in the entire state of Florida, as opposed to some of these states where these businesses are moving from. So a lot of people from New York, businesses from New York, are finding it almost impossible to run a profitable business back there, and they're coming here to Florida because regulations, restrictions, whatever you want to call them, it's much easier to run a business and much more profitable here than it is back in these other states. Now, a lot of financial firms are making this move. Palm Beach is getting the nickname Wall Street South because a lot of them, these financial firms that were based in New York and Wall Street, are making the move to Florida. A lot of tech workers and companies are coming here to Miami. So a lot of businesses are also making the move because it's a much more pro-business climate than these places they're moving from. Another pro, and this is becoming better and better as time passes, is Florida's appealing job market. So we have a growing GDP here throughout the entire state. So Florida actually has one of the largest GDPs in the entire country. Our GDP is almost equivalent to Mexico, the entire country of Mexico. So our top industries here are manufacturing, financial services is becoming very huge, aviation, healthcare, hospitality, among others. Now, all the numbers for jobs are increasing, the labor force is increasing, the wages are increasing, available jobs and employment are increasing, but the only issue is that our wages are not increasing as much as the cost of living down here in the state. Now, these are all great things, but there are some cons that come along with this as well. Now, as I mentioned, the state of Florida is a great place to retire, but it's not only because of the warm weather, it's because of the financial component. So again, the state of Florida does not have any state income tax, but it does not have any retirement tax as well. So for retirees, it's a great place because there's not going to be any taxes imposed on your retirement income, including your Social Security benefits. Now, we do have a lot of retirees here in Southeast Florida, but the most popular places in the state of Florida are going to be Pensacola, Port St. Lucie, Daytona Beach, Fort Myers, and Tampa. Now, one of the cons about living here in Florida, and this is getting worse and worse every day, is that it's getting very, very expensive. So Florida has always been a place that was much cheaper to move to and to live than other states that people are coming from. New York, California, Chicago, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, just a ton of places where people are moving from. And it still is. It's still cheaper to live here than in those other cities, but it's catching up awfully quick. Now, home prices here in South Florida and throughout the state are more expensive than they've ever been, and rent prices are just obscene at this time. So it's almost impossible to rent, and this is becoming quite an issue down here because even though all the economic indicators are showing that Florida's economy is doing well, things are getting so expensive and our wages are not keeping up with how expensive everything is getting. So one of the main problems is that we have a lot of people relocating here from more expensive states, and they're high-income individuals. Now, these businesses that are coming from New York, they're transferring here. A lot of their workers are transferring, and from other states, so they're able to afford what is going on here in the state of Florida. So it's hard for Floridians that are getting paid what the salaries are here in Florida to compete with the salaries that these people that are transferring jobs are making. They just cannot do it. So when it comes to the home prices and rent prices, a lot of these homegrown individuals or people that have been here for a while and have a local job, they pretty much cannot afford anymore what it costs to live here in the state. We also have the new phenomenon of remote workers that are able to keep their current job and salary and work from anywhere. So why would they do it in some of these states when they'd rather come here and do it from Florida with all the benefits that I spoke about earlier in this video? A lot of people are doing this, and it's a lot of millennials as well. They're making good money and they could work from anywhere, and they'd rather do it from here because it's still cheaper than these other states. Another thing that's getting very expensive here in the state of Florida are property taxes. Now, this goes along with home prices. So though the state government does not collect any property taxes, local governments receive much of their funding through these taxes. These rates are assessed at the local level and can vary by county, and they are based on the value of the property. Now, property taxes in Florida are some of the highest in the country, although there are several exemptions to try to lighten the load on some Floridians. Now, you can see some of the common exemptions taken advantage of by some of the residents here in the state of Florida listed below. Now, another con about living here in the state of Florida is homeowners insurance, and it is an absolute mess. Now, I'm not really sure exactly what is happening with the homeowners insurance industry here in the state of Florida. I know it's just a disaster, and the main reason for what is happening and the volatility is fraud. Now, the fraud comes from fraudulent roof claims, and basically these companies are spending more money on just litigation and lawyers than they are actually in paying out claims, and it's becoming just about impossible to run a profitable business model for these insurance companies, and most of them are pulling out of the state and dropping people that have insurance policies with these carriers. So most people wind up with a company called Citizens Insurance, and they are a state-run nonprofit insurance company. Now, Citizens is basically there to insure people that were unable to get insurance from other private insurance companies, or they were just dropped because these companies went bankrupt pretty much and pulled out of Florida, and they had no choice but to get insurance with Citizens. So homeowners insurance is not cheap because Florida is a place where we have hurricanes, and very fitting, and that's another con, is our weather, is our hurricanes. So right now we're all bracing for Hurricane Ian, which is bearing down on the Tampa area. So thoughts and prayers go out to people in Tampa and any other area that's going to be affected by Ian. We kind of dodged a bullet here in Southeast Florida from this storm, and we've been very, very lucky in the last decade that we haven't had a direct hit. So again, thoughts and prayers with the people that are going to be affected by Ian, because it looks like it's going to be pretty bad. So if you're going to be living here in the state of Florida, you have to get accustomed to hurricanes. It's a way of life down here. June through November is our hurricane season, so it's part of what we do down here. You have to just monitor the news. You get plenty of notice when a hurricane's coming. Most of the homes have some sort of hurricane protection, or you're going to have to get hurricane protection. It's another thing that's built into the insurance, and you know, if you're going to get discounts on how high your rate is going to be. So basically, you have to protect your home, protect your family, make sure you're, equipped if we're going to be getting hit by a hurricane. Again, you do have plenty of notice. Don't wait till the last minute, please. I can tell you, we've had lines here in Southeast Florida, even though there's no, we're getting tons of rain right now, but we're not going to be getting any severe damage. But if you look at our lines in the stores, people buying out water and toilet paper, and this has started last week, so definitely don't wait till the last minute and make sure you prepare yourself for hurricanes. Definitely a big con and something you're going to have to get used to if you're going to call anywhere in Florida home. So there you have it, guys. Pros and cons of living here in South Florida, updated for 2022, and the main difference or change has been just the amount of people moving here for a lot of different reasons, personal choices, and also how expensive everything is in the state of Florida now, and that is going up, and it's still going up. We're at a little bit of a crossroads, and let's just see what happens. So appreciate you watching the video. If there's anything I can ever do for you, if you have any questions, reach out to me 24/7. I look forward to helping you with your transition if you have a move plan to South Florida, and I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.